Yeah, you're echoing. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. Um, we're here to do our second lesson in leadership. Just for Ms. Brown's sake, why don't we all go ahead and introduce ourselves? My name is Herschel Bowens. I will be hosting this call. I'm a program specialist for the USDA Food and Nutrition Service. Bradley, why don't you go next?
Bradley Washington. I'm a contracting officer for FEMA.
Christian?
Okay, Christian Blackman. I'm a senior grants officer with the State Department in Washington, D.C.
Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Best. I'm a regional maternal child health consultant with U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the field office in Boston.
And Theresa?
Oh, you want me to introduce myself now?
Yeah.
I am Theresa Royale Brown, president of Entrepreneurs and Professionals Network. I'm a master networker, and I'm also an event planner extraordinaire. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Theresa, you are, I'm sorry, Bradley is our sole mentee on the call. April is traveling right now and won't be able to call in. And Kathy is Bradley's mentor. I haven't heard from Erin, our other mentor in the program, so not really sure where she is, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll just let you take it away.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure exactly what format you want me to do. So you kind of tell me what you want me to talk about.
Well, how about we start out by, let me say this first. Everybody, if you're not talking, go ahead and mute the microphone so we don't get any background noise. Aside from that, I'll say you can just kind of start out telling us about networking and the importance thereof, and then maybe just do some question and answering. I know that you plan to do a few seminars / workshops at the conference or at the NTI in August, so I don't want you to go through your whole spiel here, but if you can just kind of talk to us a little bit about the importance and relevance of networking, and then maybe we can go into some specific questions that we might have, and just kind of go from there. Does that work for you?
That works. Okay, sounds good. Well, we all know about networking, and we all have gone to networking events and maybe gone to some workshops. But before I start, I want to read the definition of networking because I don't think people fully understand it. So let me read the definition of networking. Networking is an ongoing, organic process of building relationships with people you like and trust to become walking, talking advertisements for one another. Does that make sense? So everybody thinks networking is going to events and passing out cards and getting phone numbers, but I teach building relationships because networking isn't about passing your cards out. You have to build those relationships. And when you build those relationships, that's when you get the jobs and the contracts and you can go to that next level in your job or your business or whatever you're trying to do. But you can't do that if you are just solely going to events to collect cards, because that's what I see a lot of people doing, and it doesn't work for you. Like it doesn't work, period. But if you build those relationships, that's when you really go to that next level in your business or your job. So as Herschel said, I do teach workshops on networking. I teach the correct way to network when you go in a room, how to approach people, how to pass out your cards, the whole 9 yards. But it's really about building relationships, and it's about when you go to different events, making sure that you're connecting with the right people that are going to help you in the future. Everybody you connect with, you're not going to do business with, and that's something that it took me a long time to get through my head, because I figure, oh, if I meet you, I'm going to do business with you, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you meet people for someone else. So I might meet somebody for Herschel, or I might meet somebody for my husband or somebody else. It may not be for me. So you always have to go into a networking situation, always remembering it's not about you. You have to think about the other person and also about who's in your network, how you can help somebody else. Because when you help somebody else, it always comes back around to you. So that's really the overview of networking in a nutshell. Because I mean, I know you guys pretty much know how to network, but you might not be doing it the right way, and that's the main thing I teach is how to do it correctly, so you can get that next job or get that next contract. So I will open it up for questions because I know you guys may have some, so feel free to fire away.
So I guess I can get us started. Um, how would you say that you said networking is an ongoing process and it's about building relationships. So
Absolutely.
how do you go about initiating that relationship, at a conference or at some sort of networking event? How do you initiate that conversation?
Okay. Now it depends too. I can't remember if Big does this. When you guys have your books, does it have everybody, all the attendees in the book? Does it say everybody's name or who's going to be there, or no?
No,
No.
ma'am.
It doesn't.
No, no.
Okay, so it all depends because some conferences you go and they have everybody's name. I just went to a conference which was pretty cool. They have everybody's name and everybody's picture, so you could actually go through the book and say, "Oh my goodness, there's Susie Jones, for example, and she works for Microsoft, and you want to really meet her because she's the head of their diversity department." So you now know what Susie Jones looks like. But I'm assuming that you're going by you don't know who the person is at all. So that's a whole different story. So let me stay on this since I'm talking about it. If you have a conference that you actually have a book, you have the person's name, their picture, or whatever, you now have a little bit more ammunition than for somebody who doesn't have anything. So say for example, I know Herschel, I see his picture, I know who he works for, whatever. I can see him at a networking event. I can actually walk up to him. I'll teach you the right way to do that. But you walk up to him, and now you already have some information about him, so you can strike up a conversation. Oh, hey, I know you work for Microsoft, or I know you work for whoever, and you can just start talking a little bit about the company itself because you now have that information. Now, for Big, let's backtrack because Big doesn't have that. So it depends. If there's somebody that you know what they look like, for example, but you don't know anything about them, you just know that this is Mr. Jones, and you know somebody tells you, oh, Mr. Jones is the president of Apple. So you now know what he looks like. You don't know anything really about him, but that still kind of gives you a little ammunition to go and walk up to him. So if you don't know the person at all, you just are going in cold into a networking event. You're just like, okay, I'm going to a networking event. I don't know anybody here. How do I initiate the conversation? I love this question because everybody is a little scared to walk up to groups of people and initiate conversations. I say that is the best thing to do. But of course, Herschel's been to my classes, so he knows there's a right way to do it. So if you're walking up to a group and say it's 5 people and they're all in a circle and they're talking, you have to wait to be invited into the conversation. So you can't just go and interrupt. And you know, a lot of us have done it. I'm raising my hand because I've done it in the past and it's not cool. But you wait to be invited in. One of those people will look at you, and then at that moment you can say, I'm sorry to interrupt. Extend your hand. My name is, in my case, Theresa Roll Brown. I'm new to the conference, and I just wanted to come and introduce myself. And that's kind of how you segue into a group if you don't know anybody. It works 100% of the time, but unfortunately, we as people in general just we're fearful. We are scared to walk up to a group of people. So another way you can do it is say there's somebody off by themselves. That's the perfect person to go up to because they're probably just as scared as you. So you can walk up to them, same thing. Hey, I see you over here by yourself. I just wanted to come up and introduce myself. My name is such and such. And that's how you can kind of start the conversation going. It's very easy. It's simple things, but unfortunately, because we're so programmed not to do it, that's how we miss so many wonderful opportunities. So I tell people all the time, it's going to make you stand out too, because a lot of people don't do it. So if you walk in revved up, ready to go and meet somebody, it's different. And people were like, oh, I want to meet that person. So that's the perfect way to kind of introduce yourself into a group of people or somebody off by themselves. Make sense? Okay, Herschel, I can't hear you.
It makes sense. Sorry about that. Can everyone see Theresa right now?
You can see me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a little short, so.
Okay. Well, we have a couple of other questions that popped up into our chat box, so I'll go ahead and read them, and you can field them. The first one is, what do you say to people who don't believe networking works?
They don't believe it works? Have they tried it? I've never had that question because I networking, it does work. I just was at a conference, like I said, a couple days ago. It works every single time, but it works if you work it, and it works if you do it correctly. It doesn't work if you just are going in there and it's all about you. It doesn't work if you go in there and you're not interested in the other person. Yeah, in that case, it won't work. But if you strategically do it, if you practice the correct tips and how to really network the right way, it works 100% of the time. I have success stories upon success stories. It works.
Well, Theresa, what about for those individuals who are in an office setting and maybe they don't have a lot of opportunity to interact with others? Like, what if they're not able to go to conferences or that sort of thing? Because that was pretty much my question. I get that from folks when I always say, why would I want to be a part of Blacks in Government? I always say it's a great networking opportunity, but you got to take advantage of it. But some people say, well, they can't get away from their desk, or they can't leave their office, or, they can't go to this and that. So what tips would you have for those folks in that kind of situation?
So they can't get away from their desk at all, ever?
Well, not ever, but just not as much as they would like.
There's always an opportunity to network. So if you can't go to conferences, if you can't go to workshops, because you're right, there are some people that can't do that. You can network in the lunchroom. You can network on the elevator. I tell people you can network anywhere. It starts in the parking lot, the elevator, and the restroom. One of the best places to network is in the ladies' restroom for females, and actually even the men, but you got to be careful when, sometimes guys are a little funny about you talking to them in the restroom. But females, we can definitely network. It starts as something as small as you're washing your hands, you look over, you see somebody, and they have on a nice dress or a nice pair of shoes, anything. I just want to tell you, I love those shoes. Really? And you just start a conversation. That is networking. People don't realize it. Talking to people that you don't know is networking. You get on the elevator. I hate when people get on the elevator and everybody's quiet. I have seen people make $1 million deals just by talking to people on the elevator. That's amazing. So you just need to just talk to people. Find that opportunity to talk to people anywhere. Around the water cooler. I don't know if people have that anymore because I've been working for myself so long, for like 8 years, so I don't know if they have water coolers anymore. But just standing around, taking a break. Most people have at least 15-minute breaks. That's how you network. Even if you cannot go to seminars and conferences and workshops, that's how you network within your office. And then what I find is when you start doing that, people start considering you a team player. If you're the type of person you want to just stay at your desk, and I can speak from experience because for a whole year at one job, I didn't really move from my desk. I stayed to myself. And then when I got my review, the big thing on my review was that I'm very aloof, I'm standoffish, and I'm not a team player. And it really bothered me because I knew that I was none of those things. But because I didn't take that opportunity to talk to people and network, people got that assumption about me. So when you do that, it starts making people look at you differently too, even within the office. And they'll start thinking, hey, you know what? I was just talking to such and such. They might be a perfect fit for that job in another department. So I'm telling you that it really works. That's the best opportunity to network when you can't get out to different conferences.
Herschel,
Yes,
I,
ma'am.
I can provide some insight as it relates to BIG and other ways to network within BIG outside of the National Training Institute. In addition to the national trainings, we have regional trainings. We also have local chapter meetings. We have lunch and learns. So there are a number of ways people can network within BIG without having to go through all the necessary changes in order to be able to attend the National Training Institute. I guess the first step, if someone wants to network within BIG, is to do a little research to find out who the leadership is in your area, meaning your regional directors, your regional council president, or even someone who's actively involved in BIG. I reside in Region 1, and we're very small, so everybody knows everybody. But for those of you in larger regions, there are a variety of ways you can network. And if you need help with that, I'm more than willing to help with that. I'm more than willing to connect you with the leadership in your region to find out what the next networking opportunity is. Because to your point, networking doesn't have to be so formal.
Exactly.
It can be very informal.
Absolutely.
And now it's summertime. There's all kind of cookouts going on with BIG. There's a bunch of stuff going on. So I just thought I'd share that.
Awesome. Awesome.
So another question that came up in our chat box was, can you give tips on how to, before I ask this question, actually, if you were the one who typed the question, if there's follow-up to it, please feel free to jump in. But I'll go ahead and ask since it was typed in. The question is, can you give tips on how to build and continue relationships from a distance?
From a distance. Well, I do it all the time, so I'm trying to give you guys some tips that you guys could really use. I think one of the biggest things is you have to stay connected, even if it's through Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I know some people frown upon those platforms, but I got to tell you, there are sometimes that people will send me a LinkedIn message or a Facebook message, and I feel like I have talked to them, even though I know it was just something that they typed to me. So don't be so quick to think that social media is not a good way to stay connected with people in different states, even different countries. Because, I was just talking to a guy in Africa the other day, and we talked via Facebook for a while, via Twitter, and then we ended up talking on the phone. But it felt like I had just talked to him, even though all we had done was, exchanged text messages or emails. So that's one way. And also, I would say, and people might think this is very old-fashioned, but I would say send some cards and some letters. It's very, very, people are like, oh, that's old school. Old school is coming back. People want to feel that personal touch. They want to feel that you are actually listening to them. So when you talk to them in a conversation and you follow back up with a letter or a note, it goes a long way. I'm about to write myself like 5 cards. I just was in LA, and these people actually did some stuff for me while I was there. I'm going to sit down and write them handwritten notes and send them some cupcakes. I'm telling y'all my tricks now. Don't tell nobody. But I'm actually going to mail them overnight some cupcakes. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And it's something unexpected. They're not totally not going to be expecting it, and they're definitely not going to be expecting a handwritten note. That goes a long way, and you can kind of keep that relationship even if it's long distance. Cookies, candy, cupcakes, anything that's different. I would definitely do that. That's a great way to keep connected. I saw a question pop up, but I didn't see it. What was it, Herschel?
The other question came from Bradley, and he asks, what is the best way to network within your agency or company?
Oh, that goes back to what I was saying again. It doesn't have to be really formal. Um, Again, networking over lunch, in the halls, in the restroom, and that's within your agency. I know sometimes a lot of agencies do have their own, like all hands meetings or departmental meetings or Christmas parties. That's a great way to network and get connected with people in your agency. I've actually been to a couple of government Christmas parties. I don't know if if you guys still do them after that sequestration stuff. I don't know what they do it anymore, but I know that they used to have a lot of different like departmental parties or meetings, and that's a great way to network as well.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the social aspect of networking can't be overlooked in terms of just the genuine back and forth between individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so key. People really discount that. And I've seen some people get promotions, I've seen people get raises, all kinds of stuff. I've seen people get contracts hanging at the bar. It's not so much being in the office, they're actually doing it kind of off hours in a social setting because I think that's when you really can kind of let your hair down and people can really get to know you as a person when you're not behind a stuffy desk. You gotta get to know people on a personal level, and that's when they get to connect with you one on one. It really, really makes a difference. So I'd say get out the office. That's the best way to network. Get out the office.
Thank you. So I guess I have well, there's another question that came up. Are there any types of creative networking events that you've planned that aren't happy hours?
Pretty much the last 20 networking events we plan are not happy hours. My organization, we usually plan networking events in different locations, i.e., there's been a couple times we planned them at a coffee shop. Um, we've planned them actually at different people's businesses, but they have like a conference room or a private area. I've done them in country clubs. Um, we actually used to do them in like lounges, so it was more of a happy hour type setting. But I find that sometimes people miss the business part of it, and it gets a little too social. So when I say you need to meet people kind of on a social level, away from the office, yes, that's true. But you also have to remember there's still a business aspect in it. So you don't want to get crazy drunk or, I even encourage people not to drink at all. I mean, if you can help it. Usually for our networking events, we don't do any drinking at all. It's mainly iced tea, lemonade, water, stuff like that, because we still kind of remember this is still business. It's social, but it's still business. So you don't want people to see you, for want of a better word, turn up. So you got to always make sure that you are a walking, talking um, embodiment of your brand. You are your brand. So wherever you go, whatever you do, you got to make sure that you are operating at the highest level of excellence, even at a networking experience, as I like to call them. So yeah, we don't usually do a lot of happy hours anymore. It's mainly different locations and different settings. So they are creative and they're very different type of networking events or experiences, as we like to call them. I hope that answered the question.
So you mentioned earlier that networking is not about, as you put it, robo handing out your business cards. So my question is, how important is the business card itself in networking?
I still think it's very important. I have some people who don't agree with me. We had a very lively discussion a couple weeks ago. There's a lady who believes in electronic cards, and that's her business. So of course she's going to fight me on the actual business card. But I still believe that people want to touch an actual card. They want to see that you are a business person, if you will. If you go into a networking setting and everybody else got a card and you don't have a card, it makes you look a little like you are not on your game. So I encourage people to make sure that they have a legible business card, that it looks good, that it's professionally done, not thin, have a nice weight on your card. So that's a whole nother class we can talk about on business cards, but I think business cards are very, very important because people need to see you as an actual business person. And for people who are in college and don't have a actual business or actual job, I still say get a business card and just have your name. You can even say, I've seen a couple people put their major, like I'm going for my doctorate or whatever, and put their college and their email and their phone number, but have some type of card so people can at least still get back in touch with you. It's very important.
I'm starting to see now people are looking for a LinkedIn page. Before,
Mm-hmm.
when you were speaking about how, if we had a book with everyone's name and their pictures, well,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes someone will send me an email at work, and the next thing I know, I have an invitation from them on LinkedIn. So they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it simultaneously. They're
Absolutely.
looking for me on LinkedIn, but still reaching out, work-wise. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LinkedIn is very important because LinkedIn is the business Facebook, if you will. So as soon as somebody meets you, they immediately go to LinkedIn or they Google you. So I always tell people, make sure when you are out there that you have looked on Google to make sure that you don't have anything negative out there about yourself, because people will see it. They Google you. I mean, everybody wants to make sure that people are who they say they are. And so you got to have a LinkedIn page. I would say Facebook. I would even say a Twitter or Pinterest. You gotta have to be out there on social media so people can actually identify you with your brand, which is you. And also on your cards. I love that what you said about the LinkedIn. I think even on your cards, you need to have, connect with me on LinkedIn and put your handle, Facebook, Twitter, whatever your social media platforms. Definitely put it on your card because that is very key, very, very key. I'm glad you brought that up. Excellent.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So the way I use my business card is twofold. When I exchange a card, I find I get all these cards. They're in my drawer, and I don't know how I met this person or where I met them. So I usually write on the back of the card the person who I met, where I met them, and the one thing that I use to make that connection, like lady at the lunch and learn who had nice shoes,
Right,
something
right.
like that. So, but did you have any more pointers? I learned that through network marketing training. Do you have any more pointers like that? Because I'm a visual person, I collect a lot of cards, and it's hard for me to stay focused on the mission. I get too much involved in a relationship, and then before I leave, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't remember that person's name, or I forgot to write on the back of the card how I know them. So, do you have any more pointers similar to that on how you can really make that business card work?
I actually do. Um, and I kind of hesitate to tell you some of them because I'm teaching that in August. Uh, I actually just found 3 new ways for you to really remember that person. I'll give you one of them. And actually, I can't 100% take the credit for this one because I actually heard this from a friend of mine in Delaware. But he says when he meets people, he takes the card, and you're going to say this is crazy, but he takes 3 different markers with him to networking events: a green one, a blue one, a red one. So a green one would be it would have to be something that you decide, but for him it meant money. That person was in the financial industry, they were accountant, anything dealing with money, he did the green. So the blue was somebody that was social. They really didn't have a business, but he knew he needed to get back in touch with them for that. And then the red was somebody that he really needed to talk to. It was somebody that could help them in his business. He needed to make sure he got back in touch with them immediately. So after he met them, he would do like you said, lady with the pretty hair. She had on black shoes. Put the red dot and put under it, need to talk ASAP. So that was kind of his way that he did it. And I actually thought it was excellent because I'm like you. If I meet somebody, because I meet so many people, I'll write on the back real fast. Met them at Big, and maybe class number one, um, had on a red sweater. And so that I will remember, that kind of jogs my memory. But those three markers, if you can kind of memorize them, you can just put the red dot. You don't even have to write, get back right away. You'll just know, I got to get back to this person right away. And the blue, oh, I can talk to her anytime. Or the green, this is a financial person. I may need to talk to them later, but I don't have to get back in touch with them right away. But that's a great way. But now you got to remember to bring those three markers with you for each one of your networking events. But I'm telling you, it works. It really does work. I started doing it myself, but not so much his colors. I have my own little system, and I gotta say it works. It really does. So that's something to think about.
Going back to the networking events, as it were, I my struggle with networking at events, whether it be official networking events or just social events of any kind, where I don't know other people, is usually that I hesitate to initiate that conversation. When people come talk to me, I don't have a problem keeping a conversation going, but initiating that conversation is something that I struggled with. So one of the things that I did to kind of overcome that hesitation was to make sure I show up early, and then I can help do something before the event starts. That way, I've already given myself a reason to talk to other people. Either the event organizers or the other early birds. And a lot of times I've found that when I show up early, people think that I help organize the event, or that they think that I'm more important than I am, so then they'll be more inclined to come talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the one tip that I would have to offer, in terms of overcoming that hesitation and initiating those conversations.
Let's see. Now you took one of my tips. You're not supposed to be telling anybody that one. But that is true. I always believe you should show up early to networking events. Now, don't get me wrong. I've networked at so many events. I've hosted so many events. Sometimes I don't get there early, but 95% of the times I try to get there at least maybe a half hour to maybe 45 minutes early. That's a lot of time. And I know people are like, oh, that's too early. But I'm telling you, that is when you really meet some of the best folks. And you're right, Herschel. You've now established, you get there early, you now have maybe 3 or 4 people that you can kind of consider your friends, even though they're not your friends, but you just met them. But now you kind of have like your own little group. So even if you don't feel like networking with anybody else, you can go back to those 4 people, because really and truly you don't know them that well. So you can go back to them and just really start building that relationship with those 3 or 4 people. So that's an excellent, excellent tip. Get there early.
I see that we have another question in our chat box. Are there? Oh, never mind. That's the same question I already read. Never mind. We already answered that one. Before we move any further, I want to say that our other mentee, April Harmon, joined the call. I know she's on the move right now, so we can't see her, but she's listening. April, if you had any questions that you would like to ask, please feel free to chime in at any time. And everybody else as well, whenever you have a question or have something that you'd like to offer, please feel free to join in. April, real quick, if you don't mind, because you missed the introductions, would you mind introducing yourself to Miss Brown for us, please?
I meant to go get my charger.
Yes.
Yes.
let me ask you a question. Were you at FraserNet? I was there. I was there for a hot minute. I went to Dallas, then to LA, then to New York. So I was there for a couple of days. George Fraser is a very good friend of mine. Along with Randall Pinkett, he's a good friend of mine too. Yeah, good folks. And Les Brown, another good friend of mine. But follow up is key. Key. Uh, but I'm kind of glad that you haven't followed up yet because you figure FraserNet was over on Sunday, well, Saturday. People were traveling on Sunday. Yesterday, you got to give them a chance to get back into the office. So the problem is people follow up. Sometimes they follow up too quick after conferences. You got to give people a couple days because they're like right now. I am swamped. I've been trying to play catch up since yesterday because I was gone for a whole week. So you figure if you playing catch up, they're playing catch up too. So my advice is to wait about 3 days. Now, some people don't agree with me on this one because I think you can follow up really even if you haven't followed up for about a month. I wouldn't suggest it, but I still say you can follow up because you know why? People get so busy and they're running around, they're doing a million things. Sometimes when you follow up later, you beat that rush or the rush is already over. And so your little follow up stands out. So you see what I mean? But right now, I'm glad you didn't follow up earlier because nobody's going to look at that email. Nobody's going to listen to that phone call if you call them. They're just not going to. It's just that's life. So I would say tomorrow, if you really there's some people that you really want to talk to, you really want to follow up with, tomorrow's a good day. I would sit down, send an email. If you have the type of email that has the signature at the bottom, I've seen some cool ones lately. People have pictures on it, and that's wonderful because then you really can remember that person. But if you don't, at least in your signature line, have some ways for them to get back in touch with you. They may not follow back up with you right away. If you don't hear from them in a couple days, I would then do a phone call. And after that, if they don't, sometimes people brush you off or whatever. After the phone call, if you still don't hear from them, send them another email. Try to email again. That doesn't work. Then you send them a card. I'm a big believer if it's somebody that you really want to connect with, you add it until you connect with them. That's one of the reasons how I met Les Brown. That's one of the reasons how I met Randall. Just persistently keep following up, and it ended up now we've been friends for like 8-9 years. But consistently follow up because then it keeps you at the top of their brain. They're like, oh, there's that girl again. She keeps messing with me. Let me call her. So don't do it so much that you're a stalker, but do it enough that they're like, okay, this person's interested. And George will call you back right away if he's one of the people you want to talk to. He's real good. He'll get back to you like immediately. I don't know how he does it, but he does. But if it's somebody you really want to follow up with, that's how you do it. So tomorrow's a good day for you. Definitely follow up.
Does anybody else have any specific questions that they want to ask? I don't want to monopolize all of the question asking. All right, I guess not. My question would be, how do we connect with you, Theresa? Now that we have all quote unquote met, how can we connect with you and follow up with you if we like to do that?
Oh, well, I'm out on social media everywhere. I even have a Google Plus account, even though I don't really use it. I'm ashamed to say. I'm a real big Facebook person. Unfortunately, my Facebook is a little restricted. I had to do that for a couple of different reasons. But if you want to send me a Facebook request, I think I have a couple more slots open. I know when I tell people that, they're like, really? I've been at 5,000 friends for about 5 years. So I have to constantly delete people to get people in. But it's a good thing because that way you kind of purge your network and you end up getting good folks in. But I'm on Facebook, Theresa Royal Brown. I'm on Twitter at @TRoyalBrown. I'm on LinkedIn, Theresa Royal Brown. Google Plus, Theresa Royal Brown. I'm easy to find. My email is troyal@epnetonline.com. That's TROYAL at epnetonline.com. And you can reach me pretty much any of those avenues. I'm very accessible.
All right. April, your mic's still muted. We can hear all of the road warriors out there. Did anybody
The Road Warriors.
did anybody else have anything? I think we're approaching the 8 o'clock hour, and we try to keep these calls within an hour. Did anyone else have any other questions or points that they would like to address before we close for the evening?
Herschel, there is one more question in the box.
Oh.
I thought I saw one, but it went away. I couldn't read it.
Oh, there it went. Sorry, I didn't see that. The question is, if you are networking with the hopes of getting another job opportunity, is there a different way to network or to follow up?
That's a very good question. I would say you got to network carefully. I've actually seen somebody get fired by networking to get another job. So you got to be very, very, very careful how you do it and in what arenas that you do it in. Just like I said, sometimes when you are networking and you're, you know, like at the water cooler in the restroom or whatever, you're meeting people and now they're starting to get to know you. They're saying, oh, this person's pretty cool. And sometimes people will have you in their mind if they hear about a job opportunity. So that's one way of doing it, but that's not you putting yourself out there. You got to be careful these days because on social media, there are people who put, you know, their resumes and what have you out there with their name attached to it. I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest going to some of these, like, I don't know, Monster or some of these other places and doing it anonymously because if your boss finds out that you're looking for another job, sometimes they find a way to get rid of you, you know, find a way. So you have to be very careful how you network. I would say don't just put it out there, especially if you're in a, like your agency. I would be very careful how you put that out that you're looking for another job. It all depends on, you know, the agency and where you are. I just have seen too many people get in kind of trouble doing that. It's okay if you're trying to network for another job outside of your agency. If you're going, you know, if you're trying to, say you work at DOT and you're trying to work at TSA or something like that. It's a whole different agency or whatever. So I would do it strategically. We all know people all over the government. I know people in the government right now. If I really wanted a job in the government, I could get one. And it's all about using your connections. But you have to make sure that you do it discreetly and you don't network the same way when you're trying to find a job as if you're just trying to meet people. Does that make sense? You got to do that carefully because you don't want to get fired, you know, doing it that way. I don't know if that really answered the question. You just got to use, I would say, use your connections. Use people that you know, like, hey, look, I'm really tired of this job. If you hear of anything, keep your eyes open for me, and kind of let them know what you do. Maybe shoot them your resume, and try to get that other job through your own connections, as opposed to plastering your resume out all over the world for people to see. That wouldn't be cool. I try to keep it real.
And we appreciate it. Any other questions did I miss any?
Did you get them all?
I just have one comment, maybe not a question.
Okay.
I remember when I first applied to the job I have now, and my boss had called, well, the agency had called my boss and informed them that I was a number one candidate. And then Bush initiated a hiring freeze. So I was kind of stuck there with my boss knowing that I wanted to leave.
Oh, God.
someone else wanted me.
So
And every week he would come to my desk. You hear from Hersa? You hear from Hersa? And it's like, no, I
Oh,
haven't. And trust me, when I do, I'll let you know.
oh
But
God.
there are some situations where it's
It's
unavoidable.
unavoidable.
Yeah, especially the ebbs and flow of the government.
Right.
But I just want to know, how would you have handled something like that,
Ooh.
where the boss, the new agency says, yes, we want to hire her. We're just waiting for, you know, paperwork from headquarters, and right in between that, boom, President Bush at the time had instituted a hiring freeze. I think I handled it appropriately, but after
Hmm.
a while I got a little annoyed, and I kind of
As I
got a
think
little
everybody
abrasive with my
did.
boss and told him to stop asking me that. You know?
Well, I probably would have gone in and sat down and talked to him for a few minutes. It depending on you have a good relationship, because you don't ever want to burn bridges, because you never know who you're going to need. So I would have
Right.
sat down. I was like, I really love it here, but I'm starting to feel like I'm, needing to do something else. So always
Mhm.
say that. I just need to do something else, because everybody knows after a couple years, I don't care what job you're on, you really should move. To be honest with you, some people don't do it,
Wow.
but you like every 2 3 years, you're really supposed to move. And
Mm.
so, there was, I mean, I think you handled it great, but, you could have done that too if you had a good relationship. So that way, that would have set his mind at ease. Like, oh, well, she really does love it here. She just really wants another challenge. She just wants something different. And that kind of would have made him feel a little bit better. Like she's cool
Well,
with me. She just, needs to do something different.
well, I think the impetus was he knew I didn't like it there, and he didn't like it there either. And
Hmm.
he was going to use the opportunity to use me to kind of stick it to the big boss, because he knew I was leaving before everybody else. So
Ah.
when he was asking if I heard from Hersa, it's like, can we tell him yet? Can we tell him yet?
Oh, okay, good.
And,
So we already knew. Okay, good.
but he's still getting on my nerves. You
Right,
know?
right. So wait a minute, did you end up leaving?
Yes.
Okay,
So
good.
a year and a half later, Bush lifted the freeze, and I was able to be hired immediately.
Okay,
Like when I went to the interview the second time, they're like, yeah, we're not going to ask you any questions. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself. So it all worked out. And
good.
things happen when they're supposed to, because I love
Absolutely.
my job. And I don't know if I can leave in 3 years. It's been 5. But you're
Oh,
saying that we should be gone in 2 to 3 years. It's a little different in the field. And it's a
well,
little different being black in Boston. So it's a little
right.
rough. But
Yeah, but if you
I should
love
always
it,
keep looking.
if you love it, that's one thing. But
Okay.
technically, it's just people in general. You after a
Mhm.
while, you probably know that job like the back of your hand. You know you do, and so you need
Mhm.
that challenge for something else. But if you're comfortable and you love it, yeah,
Mhm.
you know. But after a while, you are going to start being like, okay, I want to do something else. It's just,
Exactly.
it's just how we are. But
All
good for
right.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm glad you got out of that other situation. Good job. All right.
All right. Did anybody have anything else? Well, hearing nothing, I just want to say thank you, Theresa, for uh, giving us a bit of your expertise. I also want to say that she is going to help us with our now generation speed networking mixer at the NTI in August, and she will be, as she mentioned, hosting workshops of her own. So hopefully, those of us that are on this call and can tell our network that will be at the NTI about how wonderful she is and all of the things that you learn. Um, and we can join and learn some more about the valuable skills involved in networking. But if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and close. Thank you again, Theresa, for helping us out, and we'll see everybody in August.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
See
you,
you in
Teresa.
August. You're welcome.
See you.
Enjoyed it. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
All right.